What's this black woman doing in my bar? He spat, his voice a low growl. Looks like I've got myself a new slave to have some fun with. The biker, Rick, ripped her blouse, not knowing what he would see and what would make him kneel before her. The whole thing started at a bar called the Crossroads, nearly empty that night. In a corner booth, a black woman in her late 30s named Carla calmly drank a beer, her eyes fixed on the television screen. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and in walked Rick, a burly white biker with tattooed arms and a worn leather jacket. He walked as if the place belonged to him. A few men nodded, others looked away. When he saw Carla, he stopped. A sneer spread across his face. "Look at this, boys," he announced, pointing with his chin. "What's this monkey doing here? Lose her way back to the jungle." Carla lowered her gaze. Rick came closer, reeking of alcohol. "This bar isn't for you. Trash doesn't belong anywhere." Silence fell. Carla bit her lip, holding in rage. Rick leaned closer, his shadow swallowing hers. "Leave me alone," she said firmly. Rick laughed, mimicking her voice. "Listen, lady, you don't run things here. You people are good for mopping floors, not sitting like equals." Carla shoved him lightly in the chest. Heads turned. Rick smirked. "Gonna hit me, little monkey? Prove you're a savage." Her veins burned, but her eyes stayed steady. "I'm telling you one more time. Get away from me." He spat on the floor. "Did you hear that? A black woman telling me what to do." He grabbed her arm, marking his territory. "I always finish what I start. You'll sit down and be grateful I let you breathe." Carla clenched her fists. He leaned in. "Go ahead, defend yourself. Scream. This is my bar. Everyone here knows who's in charge." She breathed deep. "That's enough, Rick. I'm leaving. I don't want trouble." She moved toward the exit. He blocked her path. "Leaving? No, darling. I'm just getting warmed up." Her rage simmered. "I am not your entertainment. Get out of my way." Rick loomed, whispering, "You're a cheap distraction, a little black girl who should be washing dishes. But since you're here, I'll play." Carla's teeth clenched. "I'm not yours, and this bar is not yours." Rick laughed, raising his arms. "You hear that? Tonight, you're my slave." Gasps spread, but no one spoke. Carla's fist stayed tight, her gaze unbroken. "You think you're somebody?" Rick sneered. "You're my slave. Do what I say." Her voice cracked like steel. "I'm not your slave, and never will be." Rick shoved her shoulder, making her stumble. "See? Nothing but easy prey." Murmurs rippled. No one intervened. Carla straightened, her chin high. "I told you. I'm not your prey." Rick smiled coldly. "Of course you are. And tonight, you leave when I say." He yanked her shirt, tearing the fabric. A harsh rip echoed. The bar froze. On her chest, burned into her skin, was a tattoo, an insignia not all recognized, but enough to turn the room silent. It was the authentic U.S. Marine Corps infantry emblem. Whispers spread. "That woman has seen things you can't imagine." The mocking faces changed. Fear, then respect. Carla stood tall, calm, her eyes locked on Rick, who suddenly seemed smaller. From the bar, an elderly man rose. Thomas, a white-haired veteran, walked forward. He removed his denim jacket, worn with military patches, and draped it over Carla's shoulders. "Cover yourself, daughter," he said softly. "You don't need to stand bare before cowards." The bikers shifted uneasily. One muttered, "You messed up, Rick. She's not just anyone. She survived what we never could. You're nothing but a coward." Another added, voice trembling, "And we're worse for letting you do this." Even Mr. Ernesto, the bar owner, slammed his hands on the counter. "That's enough. It's over, Rick. Don't ever bring this filth into my bar again." All eyes turned. The man who once ruled with fear now stood exposed. Sweat trickled down his temple. I didn't know." Carla, wrapped in the jacket, stared coldly. "There's no forgiveness for what you try to do." Rick's lips trembled. "Tell me, what do you want me to do?" The bar held its breath. Carla stepped closer, her voice cutting through the silence. "Kneel." Rick blinked. "What?" "I said kneel," she repeated. "Not for me, for everyone watching. So they see who you really are." His eyes darted. His friend turned on him. The veterans stood ready. Ernesto's glare pinned him. Rick, who had swaggered like a king minutes ago, now looked trapped, each second stretching into eternity. And just as his knees began to buckle, Carla, without moving a muscle, stared at Rick with an unyielding calm that froze him where he knelt. The bar had fallen into a silence, so heavy it pressed against his chest. His pride trembled beneath the unbearable weight of the room. Fear, guilt, and the sudden realization that he had crossed a line he could never retreat from crushed him like an iron fist. And in front of everyone, with shame burning his skin and his heart hammering against his ribs, Rick began to lower himself to his knees. The sound of his leather pants scraping against the wooden floor was like a muffled thunderclap, an unnatural noise that seemed to echo across the room. As he knelt on the filthy floor, his jacket brushing against the boards, the crowd stared in disbelief. Rick, the man who had terrorized this place for years, had never looked so small. Carla leaned in slightly, her voice cutting the air like a blade. "Now, ask for my forgiveness." Rick clenched his jaw so tightly the veins in his neck bulged. Thick drops of sweat rolled down his face. He swallowed hard and muttered through clenched teeth, "I already knelt. That should be enough." Carla didn't even blink. "Not enough. I want you to say it out loud. Forgive me." Rick's bloodshot eyes lifted toward her, blazing with rage. His lips trembled as if forcing out the words would tear out his soul. Instead, a snarl twisted his mouth. "What else do you want? Isn't it enough that I kneel in front of a black woman?" Gasps rippled through the bar. Chairs creaked. But Carla didn't move. Suddenly, Thomas, the old Marine veteran who had draped his jacket over her shoulders, rose again. He walked slowly, but with the authority of a man who had stared down battlefields. Standing beside Carla, his voice boomed across the hushed room. "Listen to me, Rick. If you don't do exactly what this woman asks, right here and right now, you won't be leaving this bar on your own 2 feet." The words cut through Rick's arrogance like steel. His face contorted, fury warring with a new fear he could not conceal. His breath grew heavy, his hands trembled, and the confidence that had sustained him all these years began to drain away like water slipping between his fingers. Carla remained unmoved, an unshakable pillar draped in Thomas's jacket, her expression calm but dangerous. "As for my forgiveness," she repeated, her tone colder than ice. The room was suffocating. Dozens of eyes bore into Rick, weighing down his pride. His chest heaved as he swallowed one last time. Then, with his head lowered and his voice breaking, he finally whispered, "Forgive me." Carla didn't answer. She waited. Desperation broke his restraint. Rick lifted his head, his words tumbling out in a frantic plea. "Please, don't press charges. A complaint from a Marine. I know what that means. It'll ruin my life." The bar remained silent. Not a soul spoke in his defense that Rick's voice cracked as he lowered his head further. "I'm sorry, okay? Please forgive me." The man who once ruled this place with fists and fear now knelt in defeat, begging, abandoned by all. His biker friends, men who had always cheered him on, stared into their drinks. Some looked at him with contempt, others with blank indifference, but not one moved to help. Carla inhaled deeply, then exhaled with deliberate calm. Her words carried across the room with unshakable firmness. "I don't care if you go to jail. I don't care if your life is ruined. What matters is this. From today on, this bar is mine. I'll come whenever I please. And I never want to see scum like you here again." Rick blinked in disbelief. "What? What are you saying?" "I'm banishing you," Carla declared, her tone icy. "Leave. And if I ever see you again, I swear you'll regret it." Rick's head whipped toward his friends, searching for support. None met his eyes. A few shifted away, distancing themselves as if his downfall might infect them. One muttered under his breath, without looking up, "It's over, Rick. Find another place." Then, for the first time in years, Mr. Ernesto, the bar's owner, spoke with a voice firmer than stone. "You heard her. Get out of my bar. Don't ever come back." Rick's mouth opened, but no sound emerged. He staggered to his feet, swaying, his face flushed crimson with humiliation. Rage twisted his features, but no one cared. No ally reached for him. No hand steadied him. His boots thudded heavily against the floor as he turned and marched toward the door. The room remained silent. When the door slammed shut behind him, the silence thickened. Less fear, more relief. Every gaze turned to Carla. She didn't gloat. She didn't smile. With calm precision, she adjusted Thomas's jacket around her shoulders and returned to her table. She lifted her half-empty beer and drank. For the first time in years, the bar no longer belonged to intimidation. Fear had been banished along with Rick. And without planning it, without ever asking for it, Carla had claimed the place as her own.